Excellent, excellent. Okay, if you don't have this week's, raise your hand. If you don't have this week's, does anybody need this week's? All right. And then we had some people needing last week's. If you need last week's, raise your hand here. Tara, get it to you. Well, good group here tonight. I appreciate y'all being here. And next week, I'm excited about our summit. We've had like 90 people sign up so far, 91. And so I'm excited about that. I haven't looked to see who's missing yet. So I'm assuming that everybody that's in this room is probably signed up. So you won't get a phone call from the pastor. But I will... look through that. We'll look through it as a staff and figure out some people that maybe haven't signed up that we want to encourage to be here. But that is a great group. And if we have, what's 90 divided by 6? Someone give me that. 15. 15 sound right? 15, look at that, I did it in my head and everything after COVID. Used to, I never have to think about that though, it's kind of weird. But anyway, so we'll have 15 tables, is kind of where we're looking at, 16. And so here's, I need, let's see, there's, 5 of us staff? 6, counting Roy, no 5? That's correct. Count offices. That's what Tara does. But I will need about another 11 or 12 people outside of staff that will be in charge of a table next week. All right. So if you just kind of think about that, and I'll try to remember at the end, because don't let me forget at the end. No. It'll just be kind of just taking the lead. And so if you would, Just guide discussion, and I just kind of want to just have somebody at each table that kind of already has an idea on some of the things that we're doing. And so if you would be willing to do that, I'm going to stick around at the end, and I'll just kind of spend about 10 minutes at the most kind of talking about how that's going to go and kind of how... just a couple things I need you to do, like trying to make sure you have some diversity at your table and some things like that. So anyway, and then we'll be doing something else a little different later as well. So I want to introduce an idea that will be talked about next week if we have time. That's one thing about this summit that I was going back and looking at my notes that we woke up. I looked at my notes at Bartlesville, and there's things that we got to at one, didn't get to the other, and vice versa. So I'm going, I'm trying to mess my brain, trying to remember how we got it all done. So, but I want us to kind of have an understanding here real quick of values, because this one's kind of a harder concept sometimes for us to understand. And so there's 2 values we'll be talking about: actual values and preferred values. Actual values are reflected in ongoing behavior. What do we actually do, and what is it that we value that motivates us to do that? And here's the thing about actual values. Actual values can be positive or negative, right? Because you can have a value that is a negative value that you don't want to have, but yet it's there. Okay? I was thinking of some examples of that earlier. Let's say that we value stability. And if you make decisions based on, what is going to ruffle the least amount of feathers, okay? Is that a positive or negative way to make decisions? It'd be negative, right? Because then you don't ever take a risk. If you don't ever take a risk, you never grow. You don't. So that becomes a negative value, but it can be there. When we did this at WeWoka, one of the values that popped up was property. They had a huge value on we had a 1955 worship center that had amazing stained glass windows in it, and they started realizing, you know what, we make a lot of decisions based upon the building, and it was a value. Is the buildings great? Yes, but if buildings become a value, you can make decisions that not always in the best interest of doing ministry and those type of things. So that's just some examples of some, those are some negative values, but there's also some preferred values. Preferred values are held, we say that there are values, but they're not reflected in ongoing behavior. Maybe we could say, well, we value evangelism. And you go, well, what do you ever do that's evangelism? Well, nothing. But we value it. Well, do you? So you can have things that you say that you value, that you're supposed to value, but yet they're not reflected in value, the things that we're doing. Let me, we'll want to talk about some values here, but this is kind of get us kicked off. Oh, no. Sound. They're closed. This is just to make you wish they were open. All right, are we ready? We're going to try this again. There. Man, it worked a while ago. Here we are. Maybe there wasn't sound yet. That would do it.
Chick-fil-A. I could eat there 7 times a day, where the people laugh and children play. Oh, I'm in love with Chick-fil-A. Suddenly, I need waffle fries in front of me, with some nuggets and a large sweet tea. Oh, Chick-fil-A, you set me free. Kids, get in the van so we can go there today. But their stores are closed, oh I know, 'cause it's Sunday. Chick-fil-A. What a dirty, rotten trick to play. Now I have to settle for Subway. Oh, I'm in love with Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A.
So, anyway, great, best song. It's like my favorite song of all time, right there. And feel like that every Sunday because it'd be the perfect place to go eat after church on Sunday morning. And Sunday night. And for breakfast on Sunday morning, actually. So, that's the reason they're so busy on Mondays, right? They made us go a day without them. Chick-fil-A is kind of known for their business side of things and the way their leadership trainings and all those things. But they have some values I think are kind of interesting. They say that there's 4 things that they have under their website. It says their values. We're here to serve. We're here to serve. So they value service. And in fact, if you look at their purpose statement and all of that, it talks about customers. It doesn't talk about chicken. Isn't that interesting? They're there to take care of customers. And if they take care of the customers, they'll sell plenty of chicken. But that is their thing. They're there to serve. It says we're better together. So teamwork and understanding. If you see that when you go into the stores, the teamwork that is there. Look at the drive-through. Oh my goodness.
Just in case your battery dies.
Oh, that's probably good. Number 3 is they're purpose-driven. So they have this purpose. If you go back and look at that stuff, and we'll be looking at our purpose and mission statements and things like that. And then number 4, we pursue what's next. So they're always trying to see what's next. You don't want to be stuck in the now, always looking for that which is next. And why they don't have spicy nuggets yet, I'll never understand. Did I say that out loud? Yeah. Okay. So values, the values, one of the things that we need to be valuing that's going to motivate us to do the mission. And so we're going to be talking a lot about the mission and all that stuff, but we're also going to be understanding these values. So we're going to spend a little bit in our small groups, like 5 or 6 minutes, maybe 7, and we're going to do small group. Then we're going to turn around and come back together. You don't have to move really necessarily where you're at, but then we're going to go back to our small groups, and then we're going to do that again, and we're going to go back to our small groups. All right, so I want you to talk about in your small groups, what does God ask us to value? Okay, we'll be looking at our thing next week. We'll be spending time looking at our actual values, preferred values, and then what we really want to value. But I want us tonight to think about what is it that God tells us as a church we need to value. What are those values that we have that He would want us to have as a church? So break up in small groups real quick. Talk about that for a few minutes. Okay, about a minute for those of y'all still talking through that. Y'all done? That's good. For you getting used to these short little bursts that we've been doing a lot of times in our small groups, next week on Sunday afternoon, we'll be having longer times. So hopefully it's kind of getting used to this kind of idea of talking amongst your group. But this Sunday we'll be spending a little more detailed time with y'all discussing things, because then you get to get up in front of everybody and present them. It's awesome. So start yelling out here what values y'all see. God first.
Others. The Son plus His sacrifice.
Love, obedience, service.
Let's go a second. Unity, relationships, holiness, relationships with God. Is that what you're saying? Faithfulness. Chick-fil-A. Evangelism.
Pastor, two things that were brought up here was things that we sadly as Baptists tend to under-evaluate for fear that some people over-evaluate it. Baptism and works. I believe God values those things. Some people have made that a necessity for salvation, but so we've almost been afraid to value it.
Yeah,
I think we're guilty of undervaluing.
that's a good point. What else are we missing up here? Yes. His provisions. I think stewardship's a good word too. praise. Family? Work. Mm-hmm. Grace. What was that? She said toil. Toil? Okay. I was doing really good, and all of a sudden my ADD just went crazy.
Somebody said mercy. Somebody said children.
Mercy, children. Worship. What? Justice. That's good.
Somebody said church family.
Morals. Church family. Truth. Life. Holiness. I think I got the. Yep. It's kind of on there. I usually make Tara write on the, she took a class in school on how to write on whiteboards, and so, oh. I got it right here. Yep, thank you. Anything else? We could probably go all day, really, right? There's a lot of good things here. So here becomes the hard part, is that, if we're going to have like 3 to 5 values, you see how that gets difficult? Do what now? If we value the Word, yeah, a lot of those things, you cover up you value God's Word, and a lot of these things get taken care of. Yes, good point. Somebody else give me why you would elevate one over the rest of them.
Relationship with God. A lot of us having a relationship.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that would fit under the relationship with God.
And then the relationship with others follows the relationship with God.
It's on the same relationship with God.
Oh, yes. In evangelism. You see, sometimes you can say, well, that would fall under certain thing, but if it's something that we would think, man, as a church, we really need to prioritize that value, it's not a problem.
I think you've already covered it, but in specifics, as they were saying, particular words that are up there are going to cover so many things. If I love God, I will worship Him, I will praise Him, I will obey Him, I will. There's so many things, and yet, if we only think of love as what some people think of, it's just this much. I just love you so much. Well, go do something.
Yeah. You have to have the right understanding of love if it's going to be the value, right?
How about worship? Do we think God really values our worship?
He does, yes. That's right. Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's fine because, I would think that when we're putting these things on paper, to kind of just give you my reasoning when we start going and actually choosing words is, I would probably choose we need to value the lost, because it's going to cover evangelism, but it's also going to involve helping meet needs. It's going to be, because where evangelism kind of becomes this churchy word, to value the lost means that, that's a priority. It's the person and not the act. So we'd be thinking, those are some of the ways that we'll be narrowing down words when we start trying to figure out words. That's really the hardest part in this, because we can get a big list like this, but when we put it on paper, what word do we use that's going to communicate what we want that would help motivate us to accomplish what we're wanting to accomplish? So, yeah, go ahead.
Is this going to help us work towards a mission statement?
We're going to look a little bit about our mission statement right after this. This will be, okay, we get the mission statement. The values will be, what is it that we need to make those, what are the values that we need to help us accomplish our statement? So it'll be some of the motivating principles. So I say the values are kind of a little bit harder thing to comprehend. It's what's the purpose of the church? That's a little more concrete. Values,
And when it comes to
abstract.
lost is a churchy word.
It is, yeah. And maybe we would.
We can easily put that into a mission statement and have that on our bulletins, and because
Yeah.
people go, what do you mean?
Maybe we use word like people.
I'm lost, I may not know it.
We're gonna, yes, yeah. And there will be things about our statement that will be used in promotions, and then there's parts of it that it's really for us. So when we get our good mission, we'll have our mission statement, then we'll have like a phrase, that becomes what we put out there in a lot of stuff. So here's the big thing, but here's the part that we'll use for outreach or for advertising and things like that. But the tagline, thank you, our advertising people. I always wanted to be in advertising because of Bewitched, just so you know. I always thought Darren had the coolest job in the whole world. I say it shows my age, but that was like reruns of reruns when I was watching it. Yes.
I think
Oh.
we have an outreach that is us reaching to God. Of course, God reached to us, but an outreach in our worship and our relationship with God. We have a kind of, I don't know, in reach to wrap our arms around each other as a church family, and then we have an outreach to people who are outside of the church family and who we are trying to minister to.
Hang on to that language for a second, okay? Write it down so you remember, because people. Mm-hmm.
And he values so much. When we can look at somebody that's down on Skid Row and think, yeah, they just did something, they could make themselves better, they were just, but he values them as much as he does me.
Good.
And it's how I relate to them is what all this other is.
Good point, yes. World. Some people speak in tongues. I write in tongues. So, very good point. All right, great discussion, great start here. I think this will help us speed some things along next week. Kind of was the purpose of this, because like I said, it's kind of an abstract thing, and I find that people have a harder time grabbing hold of this. As our discussion last week, what's the purpose of the church? That's a little more something that we've had we've talked about it more, if it's just a concept that's easier to grab hold of. So let's jump back to our purpose statement, because I do what I do. I love to sit and just start playing with phrases and words and trying to figure out some things. And, how do we play off of who we are, our name, and those things. And I'm going to narrow us down a way of thinking. I'm not saying we're going to have to stay here, but I think that this is probably going to be in line with the type of thinking we're going to have as we put together a purpose statement. And that is looking at the direction of what's our logo right now? It's a compass, right? And it's a really cool one. So, Michael, I did it justice, right? A little bit. Okay. See, I got to put these little things on the side, but anyway. But when I think of, really, when you think of Del Norte Baptist Church, what's Del Norte? The north. It's north. And so I just started playing around with words, and I thought, man, I need y'all to play around with these words, because you're going to think of things that I haven't thought about. But think about the compass, think about navigation, and that type of thought, because I think that fits us. It's kind of the imagery we've been using, but it fits the name of the church. What's our true north? What are we pointing to? That type of idea. And with your creativity, start thinking about how you would write a purpose statement. I always go, I do this because it helps you think. Del Norte Baptist Church exists too, and think about it in the terms of this. We'll probably drop exists too at some point, right now as we think through it, it's easier to think, why is it we exist? Why are we here? And so think about using this language, and how would you use the idea of navigational type language. I started looking up online. A lot of it was boating stuff. We're like as far away from an ocean as you can get anywhere in the world, I think. And there's not even, we're all beach. Yeah, it's like 1,500 miles of beach. So, probably not boating. I don't know if that doesn't really, there's not even any water in this state, I don't think. Though I see people owning boats. I don't know what they do with them. It's weird to me. Y'all keep saying there's these man-made lakes in places, but of course Oklahoma has more man-made lakes than any state in the nation. They were everywhere, and so everybody skis. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But anyway, we haven't gotten the right places to actually see your lakes. They obviously exist. I've seen boats. But anyway, but think about kind of the navigation, compass, those type of languages, and think about how you would write a purpose statement. So get in your small groups, kind of brainstorm words you would use. Even if you don't get a pretty little statement, at least kind of start thinking about how those words would be, and that kind of will help me as I think through that, but then the group that we're going to be electing here in a second, along with the staff, as we try to make things pretty. And so, yes, and please kind of write down what you come up with. But you know how to brainstorm, right? Brainstorm means you put words down that don't make any sense even. So it's okay to kind of brainstorm, but then kind of narrow it down to something that starts making a little bit of sense. So go ahead. We'll give you about 10 or 12 minutes here to play with that. All right, let's talk about this for just a second, and have two more things we got to do before we leave here tonight. But we want to spend just about 5 minutes here. Tara's going to walk around. If somebody has it, kind of what y'all put, she's going to take a picture of it so we have it more in stone, because there's no way I'm going to keep up here completely. But let's start right here. What does this group right here come up with? Okay. I'm just going to kind of summarize, thinking some of the words, kind of where I'm stressing, but we're going to get a copy of that whole thing. What about this group here?
You had mentioned about the navigational.
Uh-huh.
So we talk about the compass points, direction to go, which leads to finding.
Finding.
Way, or the direction to the right path, which sounds like the parable of, there are many that are going on the wide path.
Write that down.
Pointing the right direction or the right path is good for the lost and the saved. Because I, as a saved person, have a tendency to drift.
Drift.
What are you writing?
And stay the course. That's it.
Okay, stay course.
Stay the course.
That right there, is that what you're talking about? I put the parable of the narrow, wide path. He kind of mentioned that. I thought that's a cool directional thought there. Anchor. So go ahead and give me what y'all have here. Okay. Okay.
We said that the Lord exists to worship God, to grow in our relationship with Him and with others, and to bring non-believers to God, and to help each other to know God better.
Very good. So you encompassed all those things we were talking about last week. Very good. What other group we have here? This group here.
He said, love God, a whole lot of what Bill was saying. He said, love God, build up the saints, bring the disciples, the lost to God.
Bring. Okay. Yeah, very similar. All right. Well, I'm not even sure where what's groups not, but what about over here? Yeah.
We sort of came along close to what Kevin did. Looking at the compass, true direction can be found when you turn to the correct path and follow your true course. I was going to say true north, but that was north.
Very good. All right. What about this group right back here?
We don't have a whole lot, but we kind of come up with words such as point others to Christ, direct those in His Word, guide people in obedience.
Let's see. Am I missing? Yeah, right.
So we had some talk in our group about, it was more about kind of including everybody, both people within Delmont and people outside. So we came up with Guide the Wandering in the Search for God's Truth and Purpose along life's path. Because even as our lives change and we wonder what God has in store for us next, we were thinking that we all go through different things along life's journey.
That's good. Yes, right there.
Point others to the love, truth, and glory of God.
Okay. And very back, I think that's what we have left. Uh-huh.
And we came up with glorify God, guided by His Word, into relationship with Him and His people, unified in love, humility, charity, steadfastness, accountability, and worship.
Okay. Yeah. Very good.
We didn't put it in our purpose, but the point that Janet brought up
Yes.
And we thought, I don't know how you work that into your purpose statement, but you want to do all the things that all the groups have said by guiding people to the star.
The star, yes. Yep, stars are a great part of navigating as well and used in Scripture. So, anyway, like I said, it's not guaranteed this is exactly the way that we are going, but this is a good example of how we can take, because biblical purpose is the same for every church, right? He doesn't call us out specifically. Well, here's part of the Bible for Del Norte today. It's the same, but we want to personalize it. And so this is a way that we can personalize it. How does it, fit who we are? And with that comes image. But why is image important? And why is a logo important? And why is having a statement important? It's so that we can remember it. So we can always be thinking about our mission, what it is that we're supposed to do. That's why it's not a magic formula. And I know churches that have some of the coolest ones in the world, and you ask their people, and they don't even what. So it's not the win all, lose all, but it is a way to teach. Why do I do sermon series? I don't just start preaching through Nehemiah. Well, I learned a few years ago through the encouragement of some younger people in the church that people start remembering things more when I stick it in a series and have a common theme for a while. It works. What was that word I used a few years ago? And man, we had elementary kids using this big indispensable, or no, it wasn't the word. Anyway, I had this really big crazy word I used, which I thought was kind of funny at the time because it was a word that it's like, how are people going to remember this? But it worked. It meant things don't mix, is what it meant. But it was funny how I'd have, especially the younger kids loved using this big word, and they remembered things from that series because it was a word that was in front of them all the time. And so why do we do these things? It's to help us remember, to make it important, and kind of build some identity for us. And so, and those are all good things. But very good discussion on that. Okay, let's jump over to the next thing. And I need 5 people to join us as a staff. Immiscible, that was the word. Immiscible, it was a great word. It means that not able to be mixed. It's immiscible. Yeah, exactly. That was my illustration the whole time. It was water and oil. And we had a lot of fun with that. At least I did. And Alex. So, refocusing team. I needed 5 people to join us as a staff to help us put words together, okay? And here's kind of what I'm looking for. I want some people that are respected by the church. I need some creative minds. I need some people that are dependable. They're going to show up. We need people from various age groups. I want a good representation of the church. We need team players. We need unifiers. People that are, when they talk to people in the church, they aren't saying, well, I can't believe they didn't use my word. But people that are going to help unify. And I put here, able to attend Sunday evening and or Monday evening meetings, because here, this first part of it, we're going to have to meet, and we have spring break happening. I know I have at least one staff member gone one Sunday, and so we're going to have to be creative. It may be some other nights of the week, but, you nominate, I'll talk to the people, we'll make sure that there's a time that we can all meet. If not, we may have to use somebody else just because of time constraints. And we really need to have this done before the second summit. And if you look in their thing, it's not very long. And just so you know as well, this is our last mission focus, Sunday evening, 4 o'clock time. No. We have one more than the summit, and I think the next one we have will probably be the last until we get us all together and start looking at the big picture. So just kind of play it by ear, because I just realized as I was looking at these things, how often we can meet and can get these things to you. We may put off some things. I don't know. But just listen, and we'll be fluid, as my director of missions used to say. Being flexible, you can break. If you're fluid, you can never break. Isn't that a good word? So, Anyway, think about that. I want you to nominate up to 5 people. If you can't think of 5 names, that's fine, but try to nominate 5 people on the yellow card. Yeah, I gave you the yellow card, and that will be very helpful. And they're going to be helping put, just like I said, these are word people. They're going to help us kind of put these things together. If everybody just pass them to this direction, middle aisle, Tara, walk through and grab them all. Yeah, don't nominate staff, just deacons. We're going somewhere else. I'm not sure where we're going. We'll just go over here to where I go on Wednesday nights. Does that work? We'll just go right here across the hall.